calling it the adversary of our time. He made the remarks Monday while speaking to law enforcement leaders at the National Sheriff's Association conference in Florida.
The CCP is the adversary of our time, and anyone that says otherwise is being selfish or lying to you or looking for financial gain. That's a different calculation for those in Wall Street, but that's not my calculation, and I don't really care about it. But they are smart. They are partnering up with the Mexican drug cartels, with the Russians, with every adversary we have, and saying, look, we don't really like each other, but we just hate America. So why don't we team up? And you know what they did? They went to the north. And as we were discussing, while we've done such a great job through your work in this administration on the southern border, the northern border is too vast for the federal government to cover down on. It's impossible. We need you. You're the northern front.
With recent
He's trying to survive the short term to address the long term.
Experts say Washington's strategic shift to the Indo-Pacific, which began during Trump's first term, is likely here to stay. They say this pivot is a long-term move, one unlikely to be reversed by short-term distractions from the Israel-Iran crisis. Amid the ongoing crisis between Israel and Iran, one major player with deep ties to Tehran is watching closely: China. On Sunday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged the Chinese regime to encourage Iran not to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil passage. This raises a key question. Why is the U.S. turning to China for help? We take a closer look at Beijing's Middle East ties and core interests in the region. China, as the top buyer of Iranian oil, has extended a lifeline for Tehran's struggling economy. Despite U.S.'s sanctions, Beijing buys more than 90% of Iranian oil exports, accounting for roughly 12% of Iran's GDP. In return, China benefits from discounted oil prices. Iran is the second largest country in the Middle East. It joined China's Belt and Road Initiative in 2016, helping to expand China's influence in the region. In 2021, China and Iran signed a 25-year strategic pact covering economic, military, and security cooperation. China and Iran also hold regular military drills, deepening their strategic ties. The U.S. has long accused China of aiding Iran's nuclear program. This support dates back to the 1980s, when China allegedly helped build Iran's largest nuclear research center in Isfahan. China reportedly supplied Iran with materials and technology needed for nuclear weapons development. Brandon Weikart, senior national security editor at the National Interest, warned that if Iran acquires nuclear weapons, it could destabilize the region, threaten Israel and U.S. security, and trigger a nuclear arms race across the Middle East. A former senior U.S. intel officer says China and Russia view Iran's nuclear development as a way to weaken U.S. military power in the region, especially after sanctions on Russia over Ukraine. Many China analysts believe Beijing may see this as an opportunity to increase pressure on Taiwan, while the U.S. is more engaged in the Middle East conflicts. How could a move on Taiwan by China impact Europe's security? NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte explains the risks Monday ahead of the NATO summit in The Hague. Let's take a closer look.
Just ahead of the summit, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte issued a stark warning. He said China's expanding military capabilities signal a move toward global power projection, with serious consequences not only for the Indo-Pacific, but also for Europe.
We know that out of the 10 biggest defense companies, only a couple of years ago, you would not find any Chinese companies. At this moment, you will find 3 to 5 Chinese defense companies in the top 10 of biggest defense companies in the world.
At the same time, Beijing's increasingly aggressive actions in the Indo-Pacific are raising alarm among nearby nations.
We have this close relationship now with Japan, the Republic of Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, exactly for the reason that these countries are very, very worried about the massive military build-up China at the moment is taking place.
Adding to the concern, the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency recently released its worldwide threat assessment. It named China's military modernization as the most comprehensive and pressing global threat. One of the top worries, a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Rutte warned such a move could be coordinated with Russia, a strategy to stir unrest in Europe and divide NATO's focus and resources.
And that is one of the reasons why we have to stand ready. And we cannot be naive. We have to be clear on this. And that is why that extra defense spending is so important. That is why NATO does not have, as an alliance, opt-out, side deals, etc. Because we all have to chip in.
In response, and at the urging of the United States, NATO members have agreed to boost defense spending. The new target? 5% of GDP, more than double the current 2% benchmark. Allies also plan to ramp up military production and rebuild supply chains to ensure the alliance is ready for the challenges ahead.
Taiwan.
中东的局势诡谲多变了但是我们可以看出来，川普的立场就是他不喜欢战争他希望能够尽快的结束这个战争。当然他这个方法是我先帮你们宣布，我先停火了你们同不同意以后再说，我先这个帮你们宣布了当然这个后续有一个关键的问题，就是那伊朗会不会停火，愿不愿意接受真诚的谈判就是我相信这个川普他是一个谈判的高手，你如果不好好的谈判，我第二次打你还是有可能的那么所以最近伊朗就说他愿意谈判嘛当然我个人是持一个比较保留的看法为什么？因为从2013年来联合国不晓得对伊朗做了多少的制裁了所有的制裁手段就用光了，可是伊朗还是继续的默默的秘密的在发展核子武器所以未来他是不是真诚的愿意谈判我们就听其言观其行第三个就是说，美国的这个午夜重锤这个行动，我认为告诉了这个中俄我这个 B2隐形轰炸器，我可以悄悄的飞到德黑兰的上空，我一样可以悄悄的飞到你莫斯科红场的上空，或者是你中南海的上空所以对于今天这个局势，我们认为就是说是我们还是期望和平特别是川普的立场我们用和平来解决冲突，我们用和平和握手来收拾一些冲突的场面
石板先生，
我觉得现在。